Right, we're continuing with our conversation with Legal Resources Center. That's at Tenekera Governor. Okay, so is there data or statistics of some sort that you're working on, perhaps, that speaks to the recent disturbing reports of children, young children being raped in schools?
Okay, so while I cannot speak to the exact facts of the Bergview College incident because these are still emerging, what I can emphasize is that we know that a school exercises a duty of care over a learner when they are in a school environment. So when a child is at school, principals and teachers act in what we refer to as in loco parentis, which means they act in the place of the parent. And what this means is they have this higher duty of care that teachers have over learners when they are in the school environment, and that mirrors the role of parents and other adults who are responsible for protecting children from harm at home. And I think teachers need to be reminded of this, and we need to ensure that we are adequately addressing reported incidents, even suspicion of sexual misconduct at schools. The media attention and the public outcry that the Bergview College incident has rightfully garnered allows us to highlight the prevalence of sexual misconduct in schools and where we are falling short in mitigating this risk, because there are steps and procedures that they're set out, and we're supposed to be following them to help us stop this from happening and to help to stop it from occurring, and how we respond to it if it does occur, to ensure justice for the victim and other learners at the school and to keep them safe in future. And
do we have an idea of what is going wrong? Obviously, we in terms of the system that should be there in schools to protect children, and you see it's a bit cumbersome when we say the recent cases and worrying and there's a trend and but we're not necessarily able to establish this is what we mean, this is the trend, this is you know what I'm saying. So we put a finger to it and are able to perhaps respond with being able to characterize the situation.
Yes. So some of the ways to prevent sexual misconduct from occurring in schools, like the main way, is vetting of teachers and all school staff members prior to employment. So there's a requirement for public schools in terms of the protocol for the management and reporting of sexual abuse and harassment in schools to ensure that teachers' names do not appear on the National Register for Sex Offenders and the National Child Protection Register, and because the people who are included on these registers, they're there to demonstrate the risk that they pose to children and to prevent them from ever working around a child. So one of the issues, while this is a great measure to have, the issue comes in the implementation of the prescribed vetting process, and it's far from ideal. So getting these clearance certificates from the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development and the Department of Social Development often takes months, and that's likely due to the paper-based system that's followed. That's utilized for these departments, but for the application process. And schools typically can't wait months to fill a position. And this leads to them hiring someone on a conditional basis pending the outcome of the vetting process. And during this interim process, learners are at a risk, at a significant risk. And in South Africa, it's long since been established that the right to basic education encapsulates far more than merely just like attending class and being able to go to a school. It includes textbooks, it includes scholar transport, it includes adequate infrastructure. And if a child is in an environment where they feel that they are in a school environment where they feel they are at risk of harm, or if there's suspicion that this has occurred to them, we know that that is not conducive to learning, and we cannot say that that is a child realizing their right to basic education.
In terms of the schools, and perhaps to conscientize parents, what is it that, what kind of education needs to happen there?
So it is important that teachers understand that it is a crime for you to not report an incident. If you suspect that a child is being abused, it is a crime for you to not report this. There are various reporting requirements that we should capacitate principals on, and the LRC has developed a toolkit that sort of outlines what the various reporting procedures are for the various different stakeholders. But ultimately, it's when the principal and SGB become aware, they must report to the provincial education department. There's a zero discretion. They're allowed to exercise zero discretion when it comes to reporting. They must report to SAPS, a child protection organization, or the provincial department of social development. The principal and the SGB have their own concurrent internal review process to conduct concurrent to the SAPS investigation, and then that must be referred to the PED as well, the Provincial Education Department. And the Provincial Education Department must also refer it to the ELRC, the Educative Labour Relations Council, for their own disciplinary inquiry. And it's also reported to the South African Council of Educators, since this is where teachers are registered, and sexual misconduct would breach the Council's Code of Professional Ethics. If it's an SGB employed staff member, it falls on the student governing body to conduct a review. And if they're found guilty, it's then reported to the Provincial Education Department, SACE, SAPS, Department of Justice, and Department of Social Development. We do understand that the process can be sometimes confusing. There's different legislation, and you don't know which procedure to follow. And it's just to summarize, Provincial Education Department, SAPS, and SAFE will tend to be the common denominators of who you would report to. And for a very comprehensive breakdown of the reporting procedures, you can access the LRC's toolkit that we've recently released, and it's available on our website.
Right. Thank you very much for your time. Good evening to you.
Thank you.
All right. That is Kiera Govender from the Legal Resources Center. Well, we go to the open lines.